I'm RQ Staffan, and it's going to be my delight to run this very delightful group of player investigators through the finale episodes of the Ides of Winter. Um, let's go around and reintroduce ourselves, and we can catch up on the action to date. So, starting with Drake.
Hey everyone, I'm Drake Finney. I'm back. I had that little family emergency in the middle of the second episode where it looks like I stepped away exactly at the right time because if I'm not here, I can't get that hurt. But boy, did you guys uncork the universe. Nothing like, and the kind of bad thing, nothing like being in an ER and like open your phone and, you know, hearing the phrasing and getting looked at by the nurses. I'm surprised I'm not in a padded cell by them right now as it is. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to tonight, and just this is what a Friday night's supposed to be: together at the table with friends, and just the humor we've already had in the past 20 minutes. It makes for a great time. So we're in for a good show.
Looking forward to it. Jay, how's the sanity going, and have you had enough pancakes?
I have not had enough pancakes because I drooled by watching an earlier stream I was on today while this wonderful person made pancakes of all the monsters, and he kept them. But we just had to drool and just got hungry. But no, but so James, the wonderful fiance, is temporarily insane right now after seeing a large, big creature and a whole bunch of ghostly things. He didn't do so well with the saves. He had some brilliant ideas earlier, but now his one goal is to save his fiancee, Sarah, from the big monsters that are coming. And as they did, they're rushing back into the house with a sword and a pistol going, okay, yeah, we can do this.
And we then move over to Rindis, who is now appearing in a slightly different guise than the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I had the fortunate pleasure of being the first person to just completely go insane out. Not the first one to lose sanity, or did I? Did I lose insanity first? No, somebody else did the first episode, but I was the first one to be down and out. So the good professor is institutionalized, or at least will be if they all survive this incident. He's currently drooling and giggling on the floor, and now I'm the good reverend who had been off doing the Lord's work, I guess, before I took over for him.
Wonderful. Hopefully, the potential schizophrenia of that switch won't be too horrendous. Shae will be joining us shortly, and Matt is having a power supply issue out in the stormy Midwest. So we're hoping that the powers that be will enable him to get a signal to us. But until then, we shall merely curtain in Jane as she was last seen falling over and twisting her ankle because she was trying to walk around an archaeological dig site whilst wearing high-heeled shoes. And things didn't go too well on the luck rolls, as I recall. So, the scenario today has been a fairly normal November mid-morning in 1924 in the very northern moors of England, up in Northumberland. The group gathered on the train out of Newcastle to ride up to the little country village of Burford to go and see the esteemed Colonel Stanley Graham for his 60th birthday celebrations. The party being made up of friends and family, and in some respects, family of family of the good Colonel. You were met at the station by Colonel Graham, who took you on a carriage ride up towards his manor house of Thornington House. However, you were detoured by the village doctor slash veterinarian on the way, and stopped off for a while at the local coaching inn, the Rose and Crown, where the proprietor had been foully set upon, probably by his hired hand. Motive not exactly known, but the hired hand was last seen running off across the moors as the local constabulary arrived to take charge of the action on their two dark blue police issue bicycles. You proceeded up to Thornington Manor, where the Colonel proudly presented you his incredible finds, the finds of the century. He'll be surely the next Howard Carter if anybody can actually get a newspaperman all the way out here to take some photographs. You found he is apparently dug up a complete skeleton of a Roman legionary centurion, and found numerous other artifacts on his property, particularly on the corner of the gardens leading down towards the church, where the group suspects that there might be something hidden underneath the crypt of the Day Chapel. You investigated the church and conversed with the vicar, managing to have him leave you to your own devices as he went off to find paperwork for the upcoming wedding between James and Jane, assuming that there is a James and Jane at the conclusion of these affairs. And you proceeded back to the house to get ready for dinner. Night fell. The power went out. And that is approximately where we will pick it up, a little bit rewound with the good Reverend and Robert. Since the two of you weren't involved in the initial rush out to deal with things, you basically bumble into each other with candles lit coming down the main upstairs corridor between your rooms. Some short while after the power cut, I mean, basically you need time to find the candles and matches and so forth. Well, matches isn't a problem, everybody smokes, but and we'll pick up with the two of you as you meet up, having heard some sort of commotion and shouting from downstairs.
Well,
Robert, is everything all right?
I was about to ask you the same thing. For this supposedly being a small, quiet little, place for, Uncle, it definitely Definitely a lot of commotion. I have no clue what that noise was. You?
No. Uh, Lord knows I can't place that sort of sounds, but we should find the others. Strange that nobody else is around.
Yeah, it's almost. Besides having just that noise, it's a little too quiet.
Indeed.
So you say we were upstairs or we were downstairs? Or we were upstairs going downstairs?
You are upstairs.
Alrighty. I guess is there a window close where we can look out from up here? Because I'm thinking me on a staircase is going to be quite a ways hopping back and forth.
There's the main big two staircases leading down into the big entrance foyer. And there's no real windows into the corridor. Well, there is on the far end. So you, from which actually there is a little bit of a flicker. If you were to go down and take a look.
Then that's what we'll attempt to do.
Agreed. Let's take a look.
So the two of you wander down. And when you get down towards the end, you can both make spot hidden rolls.
Spot hidden, spot hidden. Be gentle.
I see nothing has changed. Same shit, different character. Woo!
No! Wow,
for
yours is like 10 times worse than mine.
For those of you watching, this particular game has been played by Roll20, demanding to roll nothing but failures pretty much throughout, and we're starting off with pretty much that. That's a 91 versus a 45 and a 75 versus a 70. So I wouldn't worry about spending the 5 luck, Drake, for that one. Basically, you see the panorama of the rest of the group and the overall scene. So you have the ghostly forms of approximately 20 legionaries lined up in a shield wall, fighting back this large polar bear-like thing that seems to have 6 legs. That at least when it rears up on its hinds, it has 4 arm appendages, seemingly, and also a large horn in its forehead. There is also leading the charge with its scimitar-like blade is a rather more solid but still very ghostly form. You can see the skeletal pieces inside the body, kind of effect of a man in rather better looking armor, a red cloak, and that's the odd thing. Even though it's all sort of white, wispy, ghostly, you can clearly tell that the cloak he's wearing is red. And the pair of you can make sanity rolls at that point. Well, maybe you were saying.
Kind of called this.
Okay, so Robert has his. Doesn't think too much of it. Go ahead and Reverend Parkins and roll a d6 for me if you wouldn't mind.
This could change my next move.
Okay,
I'm going to do.
Okay, so
it's a 1 at least.
Yeah, that's 1 point of sanity loss from the overall. That's sort of the sanity loss inducing portion of what you see. You also see James dragging Sarah back back towards the house from about 2/3 of the way out to the pitched battle. You also see Jane staggering out from a hole that she appears to have fallen into, sort of more crawling her way back towards the house.
Always those shoes. Can I tell, the one that's leading the charge, how similar is he to the body that Colonel had on display? Am I able to make that out at all?
Clothing-wise, he looks pretty identical.
Well, at least he dug up the right one. Okay. I'm gonna grab the Reverend and you know, what in anything you believe in is that?
You know, I am just not sure. What I can tell you is that I have faith that we will be able to work out whatever it could be, and if we just trust in the Lord and the strength of men's arms, we should be more than capable of. No, I have no idea. Let's get inside.
I was expecting you to give me a free. Yeah. Even the good guys are kind of see-through out there, you know.
Yeah, no, this is beyond me, but it does seem that the good spirits are contending against the evil spirit, and we'll just have to hope that good prevails.
Which is which?
Well, given that thing out there does not appear to be very good, and we have to have faith within the Romans as... No, I still don't know. Let's just... Whichever one doesn't come to kill us is the good ones.
I will go with that. I am good with that mentality right now. Do we say... I love my wife. I really do. Do we go save her? Do we help Jane? I mean, I just...
She's not here to say... She's not here to hear you say that, so I am going to turn the Lord's blind eye to it, and we will just...
Do we help?
Courage.
There's courage, and then there's... it. And the legs, and the teeth, and the horse. It's like a narwhal on steroids.
I suppose my question to you would be, if you were in Jane's situation, would she come after you?
Oh, heck no.
And that is why Adam was firstborn and chosen something religious. Let's go save your wife.
Something religious. I love it.
And
I imagine.
Be-
I imagine after that discussion, by this point, Sarah is princess carrying Jane back.
I can see that it's. I imagine that what we have is Sarah and Jane possibly on either side of James, and it's somewhat unsure who's really supporting whom as you make your way back towards the house. Taking care not to step in any further excavation holes that the Colonel's activities have left behind. You start heading back towards the kitchen entrance that you've all came out of, stopping to look at the prone, gasping for air, hysterically laughing body of the professor rolling in the mud, just pointing out at the ghostly forms and the big monstrosity, laughing something like, "It's ridiculous! It just can't be. It's impossible. Ridiculous, I tell you. I haven't the time for this at my age of life, but it's ridiculous."
Is he like just outside of the kitchen door?
Yeah, pretty. He's no more than about 10 meters out or so.
Yeah, as
We would drag him back in, I think.
yeah, and I'm also gonna. I feel like it's pretty clear that it's hysteria, but um, would I be able to do a psychology roll to see just how deeply that hysteria goes?
Sure. And with a success, he's well into this one. He's got no real sense of reality. Possibly the fact that when you lean over him to look at him, he immediately identifies you as, "Oh look, it's Betty Boop and the fairies come to carry me away, ha!"
I realized my mic was muted. I say, yeah, all right, it's time for some extensive roleplay. I guess I'm gonna, yes, I'm gonna carry you away. And I start dragging him along.
And for the sake of convenience, this seems like an oversight point of you basically all meet up in the doorway to the back kitchen, leading outside into the back garden. The Reverend and Robert coming down the darkened corridor. As you alternatively look behind you, or look out into the night, you can see that the quality of the Roman troops is apparently quite good, because they've managed to seemingly drive off the beast as it sets off in the roughly eastwards direction across the hills and disappears out of sight. The shade of the Centurion starts drifting slowly back, probably in the direction of the trophy room, where James and Sarah, well, and Jane, initially saw him.
So, what? Clearly, what that was, but what do we do now?
That is a great question. What exactly is going on? What have you all been doing this whole time?
Well, we figured out that there's an entrance under the monastery that might hold some answers. We came back. We were gonna go there tonight, and tonight we're gonna go back and check it out. But then that happened. That water. Oh, wait a minute, the ghost in the other room. There's the trophy room. The ghost is in the trophy room. Did you go in the trophy room?
You left a ghost in the trophy room?
The Centurion.
Well,
I'm gonna head over to the Centurion, or to the trophy room, because I'm curious about if this is the same one from the original place.
spirits can be benevolent. Why don't we see if the Centurion has anything to offer us?
But what, Reverend, does the good book say about spirits fighting each other?
Good spirits can battle evil spirits. We offer. What kind of priest is he? Because I know they're English, so they're Protestant, right? I can't pull off Catholic information because I know Catholics definitely believe in spirits, good spirits and stuff. I'm not sure about Protestants.
The Church of England is that weird denomination that sits halfway between the two. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of Catholic or teaching in the Anglican faith. So, and since we're dealing with 1920s, and you're essentially an army padre at that, with your background and training, so it's not unreasonable that you pretty much got your own dogma if you wanted to.
Well, as a man of faith and soldier at that, I do believe in guardian spirits. I've seen more than a few miracles happen, especially during the Great War, so I don't think that this is anything too odd to put some faith in. We could see if the Centurion has, as I said, something that could help us. They seem to think that other entity is worth fighting, so maybe they could give us a reason to help them or to flee this place if it is beyond our ability. There's no shame in retreat, after all.
Nope, an advance to the rear sometimes is the best course of action.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this isn't a miracle. But yes, let's go talk to the dead.
And you make your way back down the corridor to the large entrance foyer. As before, there is a flickering light coming from the double glass doors leading into the trophy room behind the main central staircase. There is also some rather pointed noises coming from the small dining room of various dishes being banged together, as it were. And as you open the double glass doors into the trophy room, you do indeed yet again see that apparition form of, well, what you assumed was the skeleton that was laid out on the table, for the skeleton isn't there, standing over by the chalkboards that obscure most of the bay windows, holding the tombstone that lay next to the body originally on the table. Quite clearly, the Centurion apparition that you just saw outside.
And he's holding the tombstone now.
Yes. As though he's just looking down at it in front of him.
Going to instantly look at the Reverend and go,
Sarah's preparing to take a step forward. If he doesn't move.
James would have pulled up the rear, looked in, and go, "Yep, okay, yep," and then walk back and just rock out and just sit. You're just kind of sitting there with a gun and a sword, going, and that's pretty much what he's doing right now.
Reverend, would you care to join me? Do you speak any Latin?
Do I speak any Latin? Let me. Yes, I am apparently more or less versed in it. I could give it a shot.
I know a bit myself. Well, let's see what he has to say.
And
Just Latin rolls in.
Yes, please. Ooh.
Well, guys, if you need someone to speak Latin, I'm your man.
forget everything.
Don't call me for anything else.
Yeah. The rest of this episode will be conducted in Latin, led by the good
Yeah.
Reverend.
Sticks, Mithrim.
Leave it there. Yes, and with that extreme success from the Reverend, you would how are you addressing the being?
Recognizing that it's a Roman legionary, he and a spirit at that, he's going to address it with respect that is deserved to an officer, and as a, hopefully as a friend and an ally. So he would probably. I gotta get out of the professor mindset, so he's not a history buff. He would address him as such. Just recognizing anybody would know that a legionary is an officer within, is it a centurion? Did we establish that? Because I'm mixing it up. Yeah, a centurion is an officer within the legion, so he would be giving the respect that is due when he offers the greeting and asking for his name and what he's doing here.
It takes a moment, and the form turns to the Reverend and holds out an arm in the traditional Roman salute. Ave, greetings, moin, nine. Being Lucius Pontius Atellos of the Legio Six Victrix. And you realize fairly quickly, especially with that good a roll, that whilst you have a pretty good grasp of Latin, there is a slight matter of 1,500 years or so of time between the two. And what the Latin that this apparition is speaking is just a very, rather ancient form compared to the perhaps more highfalutin tones of ecclesiastical Latin that you're more used to, but no worse than it is. You find your way around the forms quickly enough. So yes, he introduces himself. And with the introduction, asks if you are here to dispose of the Cadbir witches.
The Cade Casper witches? Just out of character, did I understand that right?
The Cadbir. So yes, but witches.
The Reverend will translate more or less what he's picking up back to the others. It would seem there are witches about, gentlemen and ladies.
What childhood book did we wander into?
And actually, I think, what am I looking for here? At least Edward and James, probably, well, everybody basically, but I suspect the two of you are likely the ones that would have. Make everybody can make a history roll.
Oh, yes.
Who needs history?
Yeah, I don't need history. I have God.
Indeed. Sarah and Robert. The name Kebi Bird sounds familiar, but you can't quite places, but it's something that has some sort of local connotation in your minds, historically speaking.
What was that again? From the hallway.
I believe it's a local legend or myth of some sort.
Didn't you tell me a story, hon, about something like that?
The Cadby Bear.
Yeah, I think that's it. Something like that. But that can't be. No, that can't be it. No, maybe it is.
Make a intelligence roll, Sarah. Ooh, and with a hard success on that, you do it suddenly flashes a little bit more into being. It's you recall as a young girl your mother telling you ghost stories to put you to bed at night. And the Quai de Boer were the antagonists in some of them.
The Katy Bear were some of the villains in some ghost stories.
And as James kind of pops back in, he's like, "Yeah, I remember now. You were telling me about that story. Oh, you're not dead. No one's dead yet. Great. Oh, he's still here," pointing to the ghost. "Okay. Let me know when you need me." And he walks right back out and stands outside.
I think at that point, Sarah, like I turn to the centurion, and just say, "Benedictis Mithrums," and in Latin, as best I can. How do we stop them? And how do we stop that raging bull?
Seek the sword of Mithras. It must be nearby.
I translate that.
The Reverend will ask him where they believe the sword was last. Give us a direction of where to go.
When last I saw it, I was carrying it. I know not what became of it after my death.
In English, he'll say to the others, he had it with him before, and he doesn't know what it is now. There's a good chance he could have been buried with it, don't you think?
Is James holding it?
I was just going to lean back and look at James in the hallway and go, "Come here. Come here."
Hey, buddy, come here.
Grab one of the swords.
What James has is is Colonel Graham's prized Kopesh that he took off a Sudanese warrior in the Boer War, as the warrior tried to use it to cause him to be a leg shorter, as it were.
No, this
Never
ain't
mind.
it.
You're good.
It doesn't. No, this is Indonesia. Yeah, I remember that one. Yep. Oh, and I look over at the professor who's battling a little bit, and he grabbed a sword. Did he grab that sword?
Ooh, good idea.
Was it in the room?
There were a couple of exotic sounding swords in that room, I remember. Should we go check?
Does one of us want to stay here with Mr. Centurion while everyone else goes, or do we
I
move as
don't
a
think
pack?
he's going anywhere. Better to stay together.
Okay. I just mean, he's now holding the headstone, and he wasn't doing that before.
You
Yeah,
know,
it
if
does
he
seem like
tags
he's
along,
It does rather look as though the Centurion is, as it were, contemplating and coming to terms with the fact that he's actually dead, yet still here in spirit for whatever reason. Looking at
Yeah,
the
I didn't have
gravestone
the
of
heart to
going,
tell him that that's his headstone, so figured he was getting that himself.
James would have looked where the professor was to figure out if he grabbed a sword, if the sword that we're looking for is this. He's the one that grabbed it in this time frame. So if they look out in the hallway, James isn't there.
yeah, no, there was no complete ancient sword amongst the various finds and artifacts. A couple of service swords and the Kopesh were up on the wall, but they were they're from the last 100 years or so. There is, however, the inscription of the sword with seeming sunlight streaming out of it on the headstone with if you recall correctly, there was some mention of Mithras, by the grace of Mithras,
Yes,
something like that.
that's where I'm remembering from.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, the sword ain't here. You hear from the hallway. Professor didn't have it.
if it's not here, it's either in the ground where Uncle dug him up, or it's or Uncle has it stashed away somewhere, or it's been moved into the church under that stone.
Yeah, I remember the story is about mythos on that church. What did it go again? We were looking at it and water. I need water. And goes get some water.
I do recall asking the sword be placed in the care of the priest that enchanted it.
Sounds like we head to the church then.
Gracias, Stevie. should we take him along since he's the Centuria?
The Reverend will ask if he wants to come along. We can carry the headstone for you.
I adopt everything in every game.
My place is with my men, for it seems we must fight this Queen of Winter until we finally gain complete victory. And round about now, Colonel Graham shows up with Mrs. Reynolds in tow, more or less. They've stopped by James out in the hallway, and the Colonel has telephoned the doctor back in the village to have him come out and take a look at his old friend, the professor, who seems to have suffered some sort of knifskit. Mrs. Reynolds wanders in and goes, I don't care what you folks have machinated up as an excuse, but we are 7 minutes late for dinner. And then she turns and looks up and realizes that there is also a ghost in the room, goes completely pale white and faints to the floor.
Thank Lord something finally shut her up.
Well, I was about to ask if he was allowed to join dinner, but I think dinner can wait.
I think he keeps us up. We're going to have him to dinner more often.
Uncle Graham.
Ah, yes, dear. And you can't help but notice a slight stutter to the old Codger's voice.
Okay, good. I know I'm not going entirely crazy. Is this the first time this has happened?
I believe so. I mean, I don't believe so. That's to say, I don't. But good God, man, it's alive. It's dead.
Uncle Stanley, this is the guy who's sitting on your display. I want you to be honest with us. You say you believe so, but you don't believe so. When you started digging these things up, what started happening around here?
Oh, nothing per se. This is the first. But this is unbelievable.
You
Uncle
said per
Stanley.
se. Has something else happened, Stanley?
Wow,
We've been here for less than 2 days.
I guess the electricity has been a little bit less reliable of late, but It's not like it's ever been good.
Uncle Stanley has been digging longer than that. If ghost stories are to be believed, then maybe the Caddybear are to blame. Maybe.
Caddybear. Caddybear, you say? Caddybear, legions. Yes, that could be it. And with a pretty astonishing library use roll, the Colonel heads over to a book in the library portion and pulls out the Roman histories of Angolorum, and finds a passage that does talk about the legion, one of the legions that got sent up to the northernmost of the walls. The wall that would run through pretty much the area you're in, being engaged in a battle against one of the local tribes that was so feared and ruthless that even the other local tribes were engaged in constant war against it. And it was shortly after that battle that the remains of the Legion removed back to their main quarters south of Hadrian's Wall, which is about some 30 kilometers south of where you are. So I've added in the history into your journals. It's fairly long-winded, but I think that's sort of the 30-second précis of it.
Well, at least that means we don't have to travel 30 miles to find wherever the Caddybear are.
Oh, quick question now. Returning to the you had a question, and it made me think of a question. If the ghost is coming to dinner, do you think we need to serve blueberries to make him comfortable?
There's a reason I love
You
you.
okay?
It's
Yeah,
just a bit
perfectly.
unnerving.
But
Anyways,
yeah, James, why did you hand me the gun,
no,
if you wouldn't mind?
don't worry. No. I've got it. I'm a good shot, and I got the sword, so protection. Yep. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
First things first, then. We need to find the Sword of Mithras.
So we're going to the chapel. Are we gonna go get married now? Or are we gonna get married before? We'll get married after. Let's go get the sword. Let's go kill the witches, and let's go get married. How's that sound?
Sounds like a fairy tale come true.
Yes.
Fairy tale indeed. Reverend, we might need to
Fairy
watch
tale.
this a little bit.
If we survive all of this, I'll marry you myself.
Nah.
Where's the comma in that sentence?
Yeah, yeah.
James will grab some alcohol close by, take a large, big swig, like half the bottle, and then you'll notice he's a little bit better. Not much, just a little bit. Nerves are a little bit calmer.
So,
I,
leaving the professor in the tender cares of Colonel Graham, who's also managed to get Mrs. Reynolds up on Shae's Long out in the entry hallway. Uh, you proceed back out into the brisk outside November evening as the wind has started to pick up. For the half mile or so walk down to the now familiar form of the Church of St. Cuthbert's in the Fields.
Just as a reminder, the James packed a bag for this particular event earlier in the evening, and then he'll grab it for the before we trek out.
That makes perfect sense. In fact, it's quite, I would imagine that all of you detour for at least for a few minutes via your various rooms, since you're currently mostly in evening dress. And I imagine you'll at least want overcoats and such like, perhaps boots rather than lacquer shoes.
definitely switching out the heels.
That sounds like a plausible move. So yes, picking up the prepared bag is no problem. And so, somewhat more suitably accoutred, you head out into the brisk evening air. Just a few snowflakes starting to flurry. The moon shining through a gap in the clouds. Whilst it's moon dark, there's enough cloud cover that there's not really that many stars out. But there's at least enough light to see by, and just because you're coming out of a dark house means you basically automatically got lit candles and so forth to light your way down the path. So you make your way down to the lich gate of St. Cuthbert's with no real issue. So you've got the church itself, you've got the graveyard, you've got the gravedigger's sheds, you've got the parson's cottage, which does have a flickering light inside it, quite probably from a gas lamp of some kind. The church itself is dark.
With the flashlights, just kind of, who's going in?
I will.
Okay. Okay. We'll all go in. So yeah. Okay. Yes, yes. And then proceed to go open the door and
Let's
go inside.
and
And go ahead, Shae.
The
Sorry.
door, the doors swing open with perhaps an ominous creak of the ages as their cast iron hinges carry the weight of the solid oak wood. But you take a few breaths and there's no sign of any particular movement from the cottage, and you make your way inside the chancery of the church. You come out into on the nave, proceed down between the two sets of parishioners' benches down towards the pulpit. That's up on the wall to one side, and then opposite that, you have the opening to the day chapel, which has the crypt stone that you identified earlier.
if the
I guess I'll look at
iconography is
James and. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I wasn't here for this part, so I don't know where exactly we're headed.
the iconography is correct, then and then I just kind of like tap the heavy stone with my foot
Crowbars.
underneath this stone.
Oh. We have to lift it, remember? Here, the tools.
Yes.
We need the tools.
It's not sealed, but it is certainly heavy.
Yes. We must work together, yes. So, get on one side, pass the crowbars and all the devices, and try to work together and open that thing up.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, and the large stone block does indeed lift, and between the four of you, for I imagine whilst at first James might just hand out crowbars to the three gentlemen involved, Sarah probably just snatches one out of his grasp, more or less, to join in the fun. And you manage to lift up the flagstones from the floor, and you look down to see crumbling wooden coffins and jumbled bones as you look into a burial vault. But it's immediately noticeable the vault continues beyond the edge of the chapel itself, as though there's a tunnel of kinds almost. It's dressed stone, near as you can make out, at least for the amount that you can see with the flashlights and so forth that you have as you're standing above it.
Well, I guess fortune favors the bold, and I start sliding in.
James will go next.
And Reverend will go after that.
As a glance back, is our centurion still following us, or he just left us alone?
He remained in the manor house.
I was giving a sigh back there and slide on in with them.
It's probably about this time that that Mrs. Reynolds is waking up and then fainting immediately again.
That's not
Good for
unlikely,
her.
as it were. Possibly aided by a stiff brandy, since that's pretty much the standard medication that Colonel Graham administers for anything from a paper cut to severe mental trauma.
Best kind.
I'm going to be so happy if we find out that um, that Colonel Graham is sharing a glass with this undead.
He totally is. He totally is. It can pick up the tombstone. It can pick up a glass.
So you're a centurion.
Mm-hmm.
You must have quite the story to tell, old boy. Quite the story, eh?
Oh, God, I can just see it and hear it in my head. Yep.
You're leaking all over my seat after he takes a drink.
Indeed. As we cut back to the burial chapel or the burial area of the day chapel, the four of you having lowered yourselves down and proceeded about 5 meters or so down this tunnel, essentially leading somewhat away from the church, or the chapel on top, where you come upon yet another large stone that's blocking the passageway, almost like a doorway. But you can see that if the stone block is the door, that it's shifted slightly and sort of is, as it were, off its hinges. But it's still pretty much effectively blocking.
Does it appear that it was shifted recently?
Not particularly.
And before we go moving any unnecessary giant rocks, does there appear to be any shiny Roman sword where we are now?
Well, everybody can make a spot hidden.
There's only one of us looking.
Yeah, I'm not.
The Reverend is looking in the completely opposite direction.
Did you bring your glasses, Rev? You know? Oh, my goodness.
You know? Goodness.
Yes, there is a little bit of accredited to the air down here, and somehow the Reverend just seems to have gotten some piece of dirt or something in one of his eyes, and he just keeps running. But no, there's no sign of Roman weaponry out here.
Well, nothing here.
You muted, James.
Yep. Had to do it once. Further down the rabbit hole, I guess.
Seems to be the case.
You break out the crowbars once more and make it's easy work just to make the stone fall outwards, essentially. opening up the this what is now a local stone doorway, or sort of a doorway built out of local stone. This perhaps is the better way of phrasing that. Leading into, well, how about everybody gets to make a history roll, even the good Reverend.
Now, are these doorways made of wood, or are they just 100% stone in these hallways also?
They're just stacked stone.
Okay. I'm going to start making marks with my pencil just in case we get turned around also on the walls a little bit, just to, you know, get us out of the rabbit hole since we're heading down it.
That makes sense. Yes, the good Reverend Sarah and James pretty much quickly see that as your flashlights shine into the open space beyond the doorway, the space being probably 15 meters on a side. There is some sort of raised three-step dais in the middle, some Corinthic columns floor to ceiling in a couple of places. There is also some stalactites hanging down from the ceiling, dripping down onto the floor, which is mostly slick with moisture. There's a dank smell to the air from the earth that's poking through the roof above. That sort of wet peat kind of aroma. You see slight remnants of rotted away fabrics and wooden beams. There's odd pieces of charcoal lying around. There is perhaps most noticeable is that on the tier is a stone altar, which, as you shine your flashlights more onto it, glimmers back with an almost golden yellow light. Whilst not being actual gold, you get some sense of the richness of the color that it would once have been painted, even after almost 2 millennia, where there is upon which is a carving of a man slaying a bull.
I think we're in the right place.
You
Yes.
have found the jackpot.
The sword? Do we find the sword? Do you see it? Anyone?
Gonna go a little deeper into if it's the true burial chamber and all that, towards what sounds like there would be an altarish almost.
Yeah, there's the large edifice or stone edifice that has the bull carving and the golden color paint on it that sits on top of the three-step dais has sort of the look and sizing of an altar.
Go see if the sword happens to be up there.
I'll check the
After
statue.
looking around, the four of you can make another spot hidden roll. And
Reverend!
in a twist of fate, it's the good
Man.
Reverend who
He put his
happens-
glasses on.
wipes his glasses clean and then puts them on even, and then places his hand up against the back wall just behind the altar to steady himself as he moves around on the slippery and wet floor surface, and he feels his hand just give a little, and he realizes that there is in fact quite a large loose stone just where he put his hand.
It seemed to have found something.
Blind
Take an
faith,
impression
perhaps?
Well, hopefully it's not a trap. He'll move the loose stone to see what it is.
What
That
do
mighty
we
my
do
eyes, you
in
don't
the
want to see.
dungeon? Check for traps, sir.
Traps!
I'm just a cleric. We didn't bring the rogue with us.
And you manage to carefully maneuver the stone out and place it on the floor to reveal what you immediately recognize as a oddly well preserved Roman gladius lying in essentially on a stone shelf in the wall.
Man, isn't that beautiful?
Yes, it is.
I think we ought to get this back to our millennia old friend.
Yes.
And that's where I'm going to ask you all to make a listen roll.
Not good at history, not good at this. Let's see if we do this. And
Oh!
James criticals his listen. Well, this is actually sort of easy to understand because I believe that James is probably standing slightly back from the rest of the group, not quite having pushed as far forward into this 2 millennia old temple. In what the Reverend Robert and particularly James hears, and above all feel, is the sound of a large explosion. And James is absolutely positive that it came from over that away. So, for the sake of argument, from the east. And I think that's a good point to take our mid-session break. I suggest, do whatever biological needs are needed, refill cups of whatever sanity-inducing beverages are to mind, and we'll see each other back in about 10 minutes. How about that?
Sounds good.
Welcome back, folks. So, we left our party just before the break, um, having just heard a loud explosion from some way off in the distance, muffled through the earth, with the interior of this buried temple of Mithras slightly shaking with the vibration caused by the loud noise. As from outside, there is also the sound of the church bell giving a single boing as it rocks to the vibration of whatever that explosion was.
Now I
Based
gotta
on my-
clarify.
Yeah.
Did it sound like that bonged because of the explosion hitting it, or it bonged because someone rang it in emergency?
Well,
Did it sound like someone pulled a
Given
rope,
that-
or just the impact?
given that you made a hard listen roll, I think you could tell that it was more of a resonance bong just reacting to the slight earthquake, as it were, rather than somebody. It was more of a prolonged, slow sort of boom with a carryover rather than the sharp bong 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 of the rope
Exactly
being
what I
pulled.
didn't want to hear.
Mhm. Based off the wonderful critical roll, can I tell how far away? Are we looking at like just outside? Are we looking at like a few kilometers away? Or are we looking at a great distance away? Being in the army, hearing explosions, knowing the type of explosion, was it a mortar or was it a cannon or was it a large impact demolition explosion?
It had the sound of a large amount of explosives going off, so sort of a demolition style thing. It wasn't the sharp crack of, say, a mortar shell or anything like that.
Mhm.
It was yet again it had a timbre to it. It had a life to it. You probably reckon you're talking maybe a couple of kilometers or so.
Okay. Oh, all right. That I don't think that should have happened.
Did anyone find it
Was.
coincidental that the minute he grabbed it, that happened?
Wait, did he grab the gladius?
I thought he was touching it at least.
I believe that the Reverend probably, at the very least, reached out towards the gladius. We'll leave it up to him whether he actually intended to grab it or not. And yes, it is quite dusty down here, moldy.
Well,
That takes
if
our
he does,
PT to a new level, Randis.
yeah, if he doesn't pick it up, I'm picking it up. Everybody else has swords.
Rindis might be muted.
Oh, I didn't say anything. The Reverend pointed out this sword, but he hadn't picked it up. So if anybody wanted to grab it, go for it.
It sounds like Sarah won that battle. Not particularly surprising, but still. Being a modern woman of action and all that. So yes, you've found a gladius, you've heard an explosion, you've heard a church bell. What all are you up to down here in the supposed Temple of Mithras?
When that went off, how much did the, well, it should be the ceiling, how much did that shift and, you know, drop on us a little bit as far as dust wise?
Not a whole lot, mainly because you're in a essentially a stone cave, and the whilst there is some dirt and roots and so forth that have penetrated through the ceiling, it's fairly wet and loamy, so it has a pretty good consistency to it.
Well, I don't know about you, but hearing that out there and knowing we're underground, I have no desire to stay down here anymore. We came what we were looking for, we found it. I'm good getting out of here.
I'm in agreement.
Excellent
Very
plan.
well balanced, but yes, let's go.
Let's go.
And you scramble on up out into the Dade Chapel, back up onto the ground floor of the Church of St. Cuthbert in the Fields. Since there are regular windows out of the chapel facing east, you do see out on the horizon a white flickering light some ways off in the distance, sort of over the hill horizon, as it were. Bit difficult to tell how far, given that you don't know how big or how bright the light source is, but
Well,
Is it in the direction of the house?
no, the house is about half a mile to the northwest, essentially, from the church. East would put you, well, the first landmark on the way east would be the Rose and Crown, which is probably a couple of miles off, and then Burford itself in about a mile and a half beyond that.
Shall we get the car then and go figure out what happened?
I was about to recommend we put the stone back and take this sword to our ghost friends, but perhaps we're being led? I don't.
Fix the stone,
We
yes.
did say we. Yeah.
Go ahead, Drake.
Well, I was just gonna say, we did give our word that we'd come back with the sword, so I'm up to following the party. Do we do that or head out to the glowing light first?
Well,
Oh,
we have to
the
go
the
back
sword's
to the...
flickering.
We have the Empire on our side. We'll be fine.
Sorry about that.
No, it's perfect.
I press an odd button on the side of this hilt.
And it does indeed light up with a bright golden glow.
Oh, golden.
Although
I
without
think
the
this works.
electrical noise side effects. They hadn't quite gotten that far in special effects back in the first century AD.
What? Well, you said we had to. We got the stone. The sword goes back to that ghost. Well, then the car. Yeah. Well, then
Well,
let's go that way.
I I thought maybe he might know more about it, but now there's a strange light in that direction, and
I'm good with
with
taking him the
my
sword. He seemed like he needed it.
yeah, with my well, he told us to that we would need it, or we would need to find it. Um, Keeper, if I may ask, with my previous history roll, if I remember right, there was something to there was a wall to the east.
The there were the two big Roman walls. There's Hadrian's Wall, about 30 miles to the south, and there's Andronius's Wall, which ran east to west, approximately through where you currently are. The exact location isn't known, but it's believed to be somewhere in this vicinity.
All right, so what does everyone think?
I'm for doing what we said we were going to do, which was find the sword. And I say he sounded like he knew what was going to be next for it.
Yes, we should head back. Stick to the plan.
That's no
Okay.
fun, but all right.
But then we can get the car and then go to the east because I don't want to walk. If we're walking for several kilometers, that would just be exhausting. So we should probably drive so we can get the car at the house after the sword. So it's just logical. Since we're going back to the house to get the car, right?
Right.
Exactly, and the
Okay.
car
All
would
right.
give us some support also.
So quickly back to the manor then.
So you more or less double time it the half mile up the driveway uh, from the church back up to the manor house. Um, you head back in. Um, you find that Colonel Graham has taken up the seat at the head of the table in the small dining room where he's being served dinner by Mrs. Reynolds, who is pointedly ignoring the additional 6 places that are set at the table. But you manage, since the electricity is still out, you basically pretty much manage to bypass the pair of them and head back in towards the trophy room, where the form of Centurion Centurionitellus is still hovering over the table where his bones once rested.
I guess he didn't want her cooking either.
Part of me wants to have this discussion out in the dining room. For that purpose.
Robert, maybe
Why
you
not?
didn't have enough finger food. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, we're fine.
You're noticing James's humor is really bad, and it seems that he wasn't like this until after he started to go a little insane.
The things you find out about your fiance before the wedding.
As the guy who's been married twice, I'm laughing at this hysterically, going, "Yep."
And yes, go ahead, Shae. Sorry.
Oh, I was just looking through my notes. I was trying to find his name, but I don't seem to have recorded it.
Lucius Pontus Atellus.
It's on the headstone notes.
So I'll switch to I'll start speaking in Latin then as I approach home. We found Mithras' blade.
Good. Then maybe you will be able to stop Ithaca before it makes the final sacrifice to bring the final winter.
Ithaca.
And everybody can make history, archaeology, even education as a backup role.
All my other stats are really, really bad.
And the Reverend with a hard history role, but since this is essentially religious history, perhaps isn't the most improbable. Does recall that Ithaca was a powerful spirit of cold and winter, worshipped by the pre-Christian tribes of the Scottish Highlands. A particularly Earth Mother-like cult in that they were practicing human sacrifice. Not that common as a cult, and where it did occur, it was usually rooted out and destroyed, even by the other Pictish tribes.
He'll recite all of that back to everybody and just look and say, "Dots."
As much as I hate to disappoint Mrs. Reynolds, I feel like this is extraneous circumstances.
But at the same time, we haven't eaten in a while either.
Fair enough. Dinner first and then save the world?
At least a doggy bag.
Cheerio then, and walks into the towards the dining room and opens the door as a polite gentleman, allowing everyone to go in.
After everyone goes in, Sarah, being the last one, just gently like shuts the door before they enter and gives James a kiss.
Ah. I'm still looking forward to the day to marry you, my dear. But if this is the last night I get to look upon you, know that I am the happiest man alive.
And I don't think I can put words into how I feel. But thank you for being here.
I wouldn't be anywhere else that I would want to be. Hopefully I get to keep my intellect too. Oh, sorry. Yes. Whew. Calms nerves, you know. Nerves. Okay. Shall we then, my dear?
I slip an arm into his. That's...
Yes.
And you we open the door, step back into the dining room, across which you're met by the gaze of Mrs. Reynolds, who seemingly can't seem to make up her mind what she finds more horrendous to her very soul, her nature of being. The sight of an unmarried man and woman walking in arm, or the fact that they're a good 37 minutes late for the evening meal, or perhaps, and this is more of the shock, the utter outrage and shock of an entire group of guests arriving not fully dressed for dinner.
And all of this overriding her extra guest that's in the next room. She's not helping. Oh, that poor woman.
I would have invited our extra guest to dinner too. It's only polite.
It's you or the Reverend, because I can't speak Latin.
The extra guest has the Klein citing no need. But he does, as you head out, also mention that he can sense Ithaca growing stronger. Time will be of the essence. But we cut back into the dining room where Mrs. Reynolds has at least, after a short discussion, agreed to basically wrap up some of the pies and tureens of soup in what essentially amounts for upper class trail rations in these parts, out of some of the remains of the meal, and pretty much shoos you out of the way or out back of the room, possibly partly in a vain attempt to save what remains of her own sanity at the indignity of having to deal with such uncouthness, or whether it's through some sense of foreboding. I guess only her own memoirs will tell. Not that she's likely to write her own memoirs. They're probably more likely to be ghost penned by her niece some decades down the line.
I imagine if we stop in Eternal Winter, she'll forgive us. But only if we stop it.
Nah, she's kind of crabby about dinner.
So I think I heard next up you were heading out and going to see what state the Colonel's car was in.
Yes.
Well, the car is parked just outside the stables to the side of the driveway, the circular driveway in front of the manor house. This being 1924, the keys are essentially in the ignition. After all, who would walk up to the front drive of a manor house to remove an automobile from it? And I guess the question is, between the four of you, who wants to be the one to attempt the drive? It is, after all, by the Colonel's very admission, just a little bit slippery out there.
I've got a 20%.
I'll do it. What's the
driving
worst that could happen?
Oh, Lord. I knew that was coming. The man probably has never driven a car in his religious life.
He was a chaplain. He probably drove a little bit. We probably should ask what's everybody's skill at.
20.
I just thought it would be funny. I have a 20 as well. All right, if you guys want, do we have Jesus take the wheel, guys?
Go for it,
Let Jesus take the wheel and guide us.
I'll drive.
As they say, let Jesus take the wheel, I take the seatbelt and just go slowly go click.
There was
you
this time.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to drive.
Oh, that's true.
She
It's the 1920s, you see.
Doesn't mean I haven't.
Quick question. Quick question before Keeper. In the trophy room, was there any larger rifles or 220s with their machine gun? No, machine guns weren't invented at this in the 20s. Actually,
they
they're
were.
Tommy
Yep.
There were
Tommy
machine
guns
guns, but very military. There were a couple of shotguns and a hunting rifle that were in common use, well tended to, sort of usable. Also a Webley revolver. Come to that.
So no elephant guns. So we'll go with who wants the rifle and who wants the shotguns.
Shotgun.
Well, I mean, most of us have a military background, so we could probably load out the heavy ordnance to the former military.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Excalibur.
So
I'm good.
Yes.
Hopefully.
All right. So I'll take the rifle and the sword, and all right, we got to make sure. The box of
I'll
ammo
take a shotgun then, or the revolver, whichever was left.
If
Shotgun
there's a
for
spare
you.
rifle, I'll take it.
All righty.
Okay. So I guess it's, and I hesitate to use the phrase crunch time, but let's see how the good Reverend does it being behind the wheel.
Yeah, no, that checks out.
Oh, yes, the 90 versus the 20.
Emphasis on crunch.
Please tell me it's a clutch and he's just stalled it out or burnt the clutch so it's still operable.
No, you make it out. You get it started and make it on out the driveway. You do take a little bit of the masonry of the gate opening with you, as it were, as you slightly slide the corner on a piece of ice that you didn't quite see. But nothing that particularly a good blacksmith isn't going to be able to fix in an hour or two.
The gate or the car?
Both.
Oh.
It's just a scratch. We're fine.
You start making your way down the road towards the Rose and Crown. As you start coming up towards the hill that the Rose and Crown is sitting on, which is more or less the high ground, as we realized last session, or earlier on in the first session, of the area, the weather suddenly starts to take a turn for the worse as you get approximately halfway there. The snow, which has previously been falling just sort of lightly, starts to intensify into a very, very heavy snowfall. Enough that your visibility is cut probably down to as little as 10 yards. And in fact, you find yourself in that strange situation where it's probably easier to turn off the headlights rather than get hypnotized by all that snow falling in its hypnotic pattern through the beams of light. Because it's not like they're really getting you any distance to see by anyhow. And I'm going to ask for yet another dry roll.
Come on, Reverend. Come on.
Oh, well, 66 is better than a 90. Still
Turned off the lights, it helped him.
Yep. And as you're a few hundred meters away from, well, you think, but just from sort of, you pass the gate to the field that you think is 2 fields down from where the Rose and Crown is, because it has that peculiar brindle post. You eventually just lose track of where the dirt road is and where the ditches aren't, and essentially superimpose the two, and you find yourself sliding sideways into one of the drainage ditches.
Did I mention my driving experience was all wartime defensive driving on the front? So it takes solace in knowing we haven't been shelled.
Yeah, but you're certainly used to the feel of sliding around in deep mud and so forth. This is very similar, but it also has that final sucking sound that would seem to indicate that you're now in slightly deeper wet snow on top of not yet frozen ground, and basically all that you're going to achieve by trying to move is just the wheels digging themselves down further and further.
I think I bogged it, gentlemen.
Oh.
Looks like we're on foot.
Yeah, we're not getting this thing out anytime soon.
All right.
So equip
Single
up.
file march.
Were we right outside of the Rose and Crown where this happened?
You think you're definitely fairly close to it. So, with even though it's also now growing quite cold, you think you're within uh, 5-10 minutes walk, if that.
Don't know if trying to borrow some of the horses is worth it or not.
Might be.
Now let's just make a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Drake.
No, I was saying that it might be. That's not a good. That's not a bad idea. Going with the horses.
Where
will say,
a player question. Sorry, player question. Where are the horses that you're referring to? Do we have an automobile or do we have a buggy with horses?
You've got a car at the moment.
Okay.
There may be. I think the theory is that there may be horses at the inn, or there's. I mean, there's certainly a horse and cart back at the back at the manor, but that's a couple of miles back down the road at this point.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
there was a place to store the horses, but that doesn't mean there's any there. So maybe we should just move.
Follow your leads.
It would be risking some time on a maybe.
We don't have much time. We should just continue forward.
All right, let's go.
Onward then.
And with that general thought in mind, I'm going to have everybody just make a quick navigation roll.
Before we start moving, I was do I have time to pull out like some rope and tie us together that we had taken?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem.
I'll do that.
We're not leading the party.
Well, the Reverend is in the lead, as it were, in navigational capability on this one. Not to say that means that he's particularly successful, but that's fine. I was more sort of just keeping an eye out in case we got another slew of double zeros on the rolls. But there's after all a road to follow, so it's not like it's particularly difficult to make your way down or further up towards the inn. You walk for about 5 minutes or so, and you come up to the hill to a level that overlooks what you now realize is the remains of the Rose and Crown. The entire building has been blasted into non-existence. There's just a ruin surrounded by lumps of masonry that are hurled across the hillside for 40-50 yards. Where the inner yard used to be, you see through the rubble an open pit. The outbuildings reduced to rubble, and the back of the inn building itself is just completely ripped open. And at the bottom of the pit, as there's a sudden break in the snow, allowing you to see all this, is a malevolently glowing stone altar, a hollow carved into its top, seemingly covered in some sort of red viscous liquid, some sort of fell power pulsing through it, causing the very air to ripple and distort in strange and disturbing manners, almost as if something was pushing and stretching the fabric of reality itself. First of all, I'm going to have everybody make sanity rolls.
Oh, goody.
It snapped.
Crackle pop.
There's that 00 you were looking for.
That was
Yep.
my mind going crack.
So
You smell the smoke coming from the ears.
Indeed.
I like the
Reverend
Rose and Crown.
Yeah. The Reverend, with an extreme success on his sanity, is not at all surprised to see what looks like a direct hit from a 125 millimeter megagun shell, given how loud that explosion was. And blood red altars is, well, just a blood red altar. Sarah, likewise, is on another extreme, completely unshaken by all of this. Robert gets to take, let's see, has Robert seen that before? Robert gets to take 6 points of sanity. And therefore gets to make an intelligence roll. And on a hard success, he's unfortunately completely aware and conscious of just how impossible the altar with the zombie-like figure all in white of the former innkeeper of the Rose and Crown standing in front of it, the shimmering air above it flickering in the snow, and coming over the hill, that six-legged horned beast really is. So he takes in the full madness of it all. And I would like you to roll a real-time bout of madness, Robert, if you would. Okay. Well, this one's relatively easy. In the snow, and wind, the wind blowing through your ears, screaming almost, in fact, through your ears. The snow obscuring shapes and forms. At least for the next 4 rounds, you're going to mistake Sarah for Jane. You know that Jane didn't come with you, but at the same time, Jane is standing there. For some reason, wielding both a shining sword and a large rifle. Meanwhile, we also have James. James, having failed his sanity check and being already temporarily insane. Oh, by the way, Greg, you can go ahead and tick that box as well. You get to roll a d6.
All right, here we go. We want a 1, 2, or 3. Nothing higher than a 3, because all bad's going to happen. So, I see a little dice on my dice roller, so here
50,
we
50.
go.
So that would be the 6.
Welcome to the Six Club.
Oh no,
Come
he
join us.
MacKenzie'd.
We have
yeah.
cookies.
So first, we'll do these in order. So first of all, make me an intelligence roll if you would.
I'm doing green dice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, an
Well, look at
extreme
that.
success.
Phew.
I know I'm going
Indeed.
mad. I know I'm going mad, but I'm going to defeat this thing, save my fiance, and you know what? I'm going down with the ship, but
I appreciate
I'm
you
saving.
saving my wife.
all
Save my
the
wife.
time turning around and showing your father just how great a warrior you truly can be. So go ahead and roll first of all, a real-time bout of madness.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. A phobia,
I think given the smells of the raw flesh and slightly burned flesh that wafts up from the remains of the meat carcasses that were in the cold store of the inn just pushes into you, and you're going to have a phobia against cooked meats for a short while. Well,
Okay.
you've got the phobia, but you'll have the bout for it for just a short while.
Okay.
However,
Least
you
you're not
also, of
afraid of
course,
snow.
get to roll a summary bout.
A summary bout. Now, because I dropped below my 40, because I'm now at 38.
That's why you get. Yeah,
The summary bout?
that's why you get the summary.
All right, here we go. Come on.
Okay. I'm going to say that for the purposes of this, you are going to have an aversion to blood. You just cannot stand you cannot stand the sight of it, even just a paper cut. Just drives you mad. Let alone the sight of a blood-stained altar in the middle of a bomb site with 4 or 5 unconscious bodies lying up by the remains of the building. An evil high priest doing their thing, and a roaring monstrosity coming, starting to veer towards the group. So yes, I think for now I'm going to just leave that as your aversion to blood is just so strong that it's going to take being institutionalized to bring you back from it.
Am I going to be incapacitated now or after this scenario?
You're not actually incapacitated at the moment.
Okay. All right. Because I have an idea of what's going to happen and why he's going to be into why I'm going to go that direction. So.
Okay. Beautiful. So yes, that is roughly the scene as the charging 6-legged bull. And you're about 100 yards or so away from sort of the altar at Ground Zero, shall we say, right now. The roaring bull disappears inside a ever-growing cloud of snow that rapidly surrounds it as the very air around it just seems to freeze.
Did it vanish, or it's more obscured?
No, it seems to just get rapidly obscured.
So we're about 100 feet away from the crater, and so James is. Can we see? You said there was a woman or the innkeeper in white. Is she performing the ritual, or is she dead? And can we see her?
It's the. It seems to be the formerly dead innkeeper, so the husband, as it were, back up and moving. Okay. Seemingly
the one
performing.
That was at the bottom of the steps.
Yes.
Okay.
It's easy enough to tell because half his head is still left open.
I mean, we all have guns, right?
If we can see him, James is gonna run, and he's gonna get point blank range and shoot.
Okay, you're about 100 yards out, so it will take a few. It'll take a couple of rounds to do that, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's cuckoo. So he's just gonna charge and run, and he's gonna try to get point blank to take that rifle shot.
Sounds good.
Seeing that, Sarah's probably just like, bloody hell, James, and starts running with the sword.
Okay. Given that you stopped off for a quick gather of dinner, I get to roll. Oh, okay. Not a problem. Very well. What about the good Reverend? As two of the group have seemingly taken off, trying to make a beeline for... Well, it's a bit difficult to tell right now whether they're running for the 6-legged bull or whether they're running for the altar or the figure in front of it or or where, but in the general vicinity of the what remain of that pit that used to be the inn courtyard.
The centurion said to deal with the witches, so his plan is to go after the person at the altar as well. He's got a revolver. He should be fine.
Okay. And Robert, our new recruit
Robert.
in the Legions of Madness.
Yeah, I just wondering why my wife is running after James. She's obviously lost her mind as well, saying dear. So I'm gonna start chasing her to get her out of harm's way because she's obviously confused at who her husband is. But I'm thankful she brought
Very
the sword.
well.
I'll be taking that off her hand soon.
As you start running, you find that the area of chill air around the charging six-legged bull that's roughly coming towards you is extending out to cover you, and I need you all to make con rolls.
Robert, my man,
Good job, guys.
You're killing me.
And with those results, I need you all to take 1 hit point of freezing cold damage.
I need 1 point on that roll. I tell you.
Now, it does look like the bull is going to manage to intercept you before you get down into the bottom of the pit. But you've got about a round or so before it's going to, as it were, probably impact. A little bit difficult to tell just because it's so heavily obscured by its own miniature snowstorm.
Where are those darn centurions when we needed them?
If we see this large thing coming towards us and figuring it out, James will take, if it's possible, to take a shot at the. Actually, no. I'm thinking because of his state of mind, he's not even paying attention to that big thing, and he's single-minded, and he's just charging for that altar, and shooting as he's running towards that altar.
Okay. Shooting at the figure of the former publican, or
the former innkeeper, yeah. Whoever's kind of like standing under this glowy thing at the altar.
Yeah.
I'm just
okay,
and just shooting while I'm running towards it.
Since we're getting into more of a general combat, it just so happens that James, due to his dexterity, is first to go in the combat order. So why don't you give me a fighting rifle roll?
Firearms roll? Rifle.
Yeah, firearms RS. So rifle
RS.
shotgun, that stands for.
Considering that James is quite good at this, here we go. Do I have a disadvantage or anything because I'm, or a lower percentage because I'm running and shooting?
No, not really.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And with a hard success, Frank Jones, Avatar of Ithaca, is going to make a make attempt to dodge roll. Failing. Go ahead and roll me a d6 plus 1.
D6 plus 1. It's 5
So
plus 1, so
6.
6 points of damage.
Okay. You're running down, and even in your oddly focused, detached mental state, your ears filled with the noises of the trenches at the Somme and the charges up over the top and through the wire, the screams of comrades falling at your sides, the whirring of bullets, the odd tunnel vision that you generate at that point in time. You quite clearly see the bullet strike Frank Jones in the chest and just pass through as though he was made of butter.
Okay.
Next up in line is Sarah. So you're basically right now about 80 yards or so away from the altar. You're about 20 yards or so away from this large, six-legged, horned, bearish, Nothcare monstrosity.
And this monster bull is between us and the dead innkeeper guy.
Yes,
Frank?
essentially. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I'm kind of the same mind that we need to get to Ithakar. So I'm going to be running forward, and I see it like starting to intercept as James is shooting at it. I'm going to brandish the sword, and like as I'm running, just kind of like jab upward to try and get it to pause or slow down.
Okay. For that, just go ahead and make me a... Let's call it an intimidation check. And not particularly unsurprisingly, this massive, huge Nothke is not really intimidated by a mere whip of a girl wielding the scimitar, having probably been lobbed at it out of a lake somewhere. And by the way, thank you so much for the sister channel Wheeltail coming and raiding over. We're just about getting into the big baddie finale fight of the finale episode, so feel free to hang around. So it's just going to take a swipe at you as you rush past. Once I find him. Let's see what. does. Okay, does. Six. Yeah. It misses you as you manage to dodge past it. The good Reverend Edward, you're up, sir.
He's the innkeeper still standing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and shoot whatever. Not Herald of blah blah blah. I'm not directing that thing's attention my way. Yeah, I'm gonna deal with the thing I can handle, which is another living person. So I'm gonna shoot them. We'll deal with that problem later. Yeah, we'll deal with the monster problem later. I don't have Excalibur. I just have a revolver. So I'm gonna take a shot.
I can say I fought a god.
Oh, shoot. I grabbed the wrong gun. Apparently my handgun skill is rubbish and my rifle and shotgun skill is great. Alright, I'm still doing it. I commit.
Yeah, I'm going to have you roll the purple die, just because you are pretty much at extreme range for a Webley at this point.
Okay. Purple. Yeah, no, that...
So, basically, it jams on you.
Because of course it does. Why wouldn't it?
Apparently, the good colonel hasn't taken quite as good care of his service Webley as he maybe should have been doing.
Tossing him under the bus.
It'll basically take a round to clear.
And the Reverend a rifle or a shotgun.
And finally, Robert.
As I'm thinking about it, a peg leg in the snow. No wonder I'm so slow to get into the swing of things. Yeah, it might as well be hopping. Seeing the Reverend, because I've now got to save my wife. This is more important to me. You know, Jane's out here wielding a sword at a bull for some strange reason. Seeing the Reverend has a problem, I will toss him my shotgun and go to assist my wife, who's decided to go toe to toe with this bull.
Okay.
And
the form of this assistance is going to be what?
I have a shotgun, but you know him. He's bat crazy enough right now. In base of history, I'm gonna take a swing at it, just with the fist.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So that's a fighting brawl.
And I am going to kind of hug it, I guess. Don't laugh too much, James.
Basically, you as you said, you realize somewhat a bit too late that going into a boxing match with a peg leg in the snow doesn't exactly give you the greatest sense of balance, and it flies out from under you, and you end up basically going arse over tea kettle onto your behind with the momentum of the haymaker you were lining up.
Is the leg even attached anymore after that one?
Oh yeah, it wasn't a double zero.
Okay. Thank
I'm
goodness.
proud of you. You tried punching a god.
Well, I have to defend my wife's honor, my love. Yeah. Waiting for James to hear this and eventually shoot me too.
and
Just wait.
then we're going. That means that the North K basically had. Well, let's see. Sarah and James have run past. Yes, this is. We have a basically prone target lying on the ground in front of us.
I'm gonna have a big old hoof mark in my chest.
That's right. It's-
You're too easy of a target. Too easy
I
of a target.
know. I just it's yeah. All to save my wife, my love. At least for 3 more rounds. Oh, oh, oh! I thought I was getting lucky. Oh,
Oh,
I might survive this.
yes. That is a fumble.
So the North K yet again proves that Roll20 Call of Cthulhu is a perfect disaster mix. In that it's as it raises itself up on its 2 hind legs, revealing its 4 clawed arms, one of which is already trying to take a swipe at Sarah as she ran past. It catches one of them on Robert's peg leg, and in so doing pulls it just off balance, but it's basically leaving itself open. Go ahead, Robert, and roll me a dodge if you wouldn't mind.
Alrighty.
Okay. Now,
Thank you, Roll20.
With even though that's a fail and there is a successful attack coming in, the prior fumble means that essentially still evens itself out, and you feel the wind from the claws pass by your ears as this gigantic maw just barely misses tearing your head off by millimeters.
I have wet myself. What little sanity just went, "You're fighting a god!"
We're going to go back up to the top of the round in James, who's now behind the North K, heading up. It'll take you, by the end of this round, if you sort of do a good push sprint, you can probably get up to what used to be Frank Jones and the altar.
Oh yeah, he's pushing, and I don't think I'll be able to get another shot off, but I would like to if I could.
Oh yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, yeah, he's charging. He's just all mad, and he's just gonna get another shot off. Closer point blank range, so that next round, he's gonna get in like engaged melee, like toe to toe, madman action combat. But for the rifle shot that he's doing right now, is going to be a nice success.
Indeed. And roll me another d6 plus 1 if you wouldn't mind.
A d6 plus 1? That'll be 4 total.
Okay. And this time you see the bullet. You're slightly off center just because you're shooting as you're running up, and you're a little bit imprecise. So you see the bullet just pass through one of Frank's arms to seemingly no effect, as Frank in turn starts to walk up the slope of the pit that the altar is at the bottom of, towards the group of seemingly stunned people lying at the edge of the remains of the back of the inn. The wife of the innkeeper, the doctor, and one of the policemen. Just sort of lying generally knocked out. But it'll take him a while to get up there, and you can certainly run up and intercept and sort of be in his face. Okay. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Sarah.
I want to run up and intercept and be in his face.
Sounds like a plan. Anything particular you're planning to put into his face?
The sword.
Very well. Fighting brawl, please. Ooh. Just hit. Just hit. Well, that's okay, says Frank. I have a 17% dodge. I can use that. I fail with a 53. So go ahead and what do you have at the just under the Call of Cthulhu title? There's a box called damage bonus on the character sheet.
I have nothing selected.
Okay, it just says none.
Oh, yeah, it says none right now, but there's like a whole list of.
Yeah, no. If none is the none is the calculated value, that makes life easier. So just go ahead and roll me a d6 plus 1, please.
Come on, blessed holy weapon.
Nice. Ooh. 7 points of not a lightsaber or moistened from a lake weapon, honest. 7 points. Ooh. That means I get to make a con roll. What do I have? 60. Oh, and I failed the con roll. That's not good because that is a severe wound. So that actually means that you knock him to the ground. As you practically tear an arm out of its socket.
Nice.
The Reverend.
Keep blessing me, Mithra.
The Reverend is going to advance while trying to unjam the revolver. He needs to be closer for it to be effective.
That makes sense.
You were also tossed a right.
Robert.
Yeah, they did say somebody tossed the shotgun towards him too, so he's got that as well. But yeah, even the shotgun is better up close, so he's just going to get closer, fix one gun, and keep moving.
That makes you can never have too many guns ready. So yes, Robert, lying down on the ground, looking up at this imposing 10-meter tall four-arm horn monstrosity.
I might be looking at the monstrosity, but my wonderful, beautiful goddess of a wife has just literally sliced an arm off in front of me. I mean, obviously, I marry well, and I just, hey, being a part of the soldier and me and all that. Obviously, she's got the skill set. I'm gonna try to wrap up his legs to try to keep him held so she could get another good shot in. And hey, this is the woman of my dreams. Obviously, no wonder I picked up on her in the hospital. So,
Okay. Go ahead and make me a fighting brawl. Okay. Fair enough. Doo, doo, doo. Yep, you managed to basically wrap your arms around one of the two legs of this thing. It's going to basically try to get rid of you.
tried to get rid of me. That's really open-ended.
And
Oh no.
it
Oh, no.
basically just kicks hard and sends you flying. Now, fortunately, at this point there is some snow cover, so it's not as hard a landing on the ground as it could otherwise have been. Go ahead and I recognize I'm asking this of Robert, but go ahead and make me a dexterity roll. Oh,
Oh,
and you actually managed to land roughly on your leg, so you only take 1 point of damage. As you basically, you end up doing couple of back flips and flipping back onto your legs and come back up.
peg leg do help.
That brings us back to the top of the round in James.
So, I'm trying to think. So I've got everyone passed. I was at the ridge. Everyone passed me. They're hacking him up. I jump down there, take the sword out, and just start hacking his head off, and just wildly just hacking at him while they're holding on to him. And Sarah's got the sword in her. I'm just starts hacking away. If I happen to hit Robert, we'll see.
I'm far away right now. I got kicked away.
Oh, you got kicked away. The individuals that are unconscious might be
ones
also
that are at risk are Sarah and to some respect the Reverend.
okay. So
But
no, I'm
go-
I'm gonna hack, and we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens if I can hack this guy's head off.
Reckless hacking. Let's call that a fighting brawl.
Fighting brawl.
Yeah.
All right, with the sword. Here we go. And
Okay.
Yeah.
The,
but I got 8 luck points I could use.
you do have
Good
8 luck
day.
points you can use. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like
Okay.
to use 8 luck points for that.
Certainly. Go ahead and roll me a straight d6 for that sword.
2.
2 points. Okay. You slide the sword into the other arm as you feel absolutely no resistance. As it
No
just
blood either,
slides
right?
No blood either. Indeed.
Okay.
But there is quite a bit of. I mean, there is still quite a bit of dry blood out of his head, and there's quite a lot of blood from the now trailing arm to one side.
Okay.
Sarah.
I'm gonna try to remove his head and put him down.
Roll that fighting roll. That is a regular success by 1, and by 1 is normally enough. So go ahead and roll me that d6 plus 1. For a total of 6 points, we will go ahead and try and dodge it. Oh! And Sarah, please describe for the world how you, with the power of Mithras, take out and remove forever this avatar of Ithaca.
I think because it's a fumble on their side. Like I swing trying to cut the head clean off, and it just like cleaves like just part of it like at a slant, and then he turns around and like starts like reaching for, and as he does, just like walks onto the sword, and she just
Oh, beautiful.
slides him off.
And as you say, you do a partial decapacitation. The sword, much like James's sword, almost as if slicing through butter, but entirely unlike James's sword, yours has a very tangible effect as what remains of the top of Frank's head is removed, and you bring the sword back towards the ready position as Frank staggers just forward onto the tip of the gladius, pointing in at its chest as he sinks forward, and you feel his weight come more and more onto the sword. As he sinks onto it, it reaches through and pierces what remains of his cold, dark heart, and appears the other side as he continues sinking down on his knees, and then staggers, falling slowly forwards, his mouth open in a silent scream, as all around the vicinity, in a half-mile radius or more, the world just grows suddenly white and ultimately chill before there is an almost crystalline clinking of ice breaking everywhere into tiny crystals. And the night returns to its normal self. And the four of you are left standing, breathing heavily, looking around the devastation of what was once the Rosen Crown, shaking yourself, wondering almost if it was just all a dream, or perhaps something brought on by too much of the rich food of Mrs. Reynolds' cooking. And that is where we will draw a curtain on the Ides of Winter. Thank you, and well done. This has been an absolutely incredible three-part trip, and it's been such a joy to sit here and experience this amazing group of players. So why don't we go around and fill everybody in with who you are, anything you want to plug, and most importantly of all, how you're doing. So let's start with Rindis.
Hi everyone, I'm Rindis. Wow, two characters, bad rolls between them. The Reverend definitely didn't die, but he definitely wasn't useful either. He did help find the sword, so that's something. Me, I'm doing okay. Apologies, just a little bit out of it. Shae and I got some bad news before the game started, so we were just kind of powering through. Otherwise, everything's great besides that, and you can catch us most nights of the week over on our channel, Party Wipe Games.
And I will definitely add my recommendation to all the Party Wipe channels. It's well worth keeping an eye on. Shae.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shae. I am also a member of Party Wipe Games. I'm besides life issues, I'm doing pretty good. I am so happy that I got to play in this game, and Staffan, thank you very, very much. This was exciting. Um, I also have my own channel, so I do artwork. I stream artwork mostly. Occasionally, I'll play a game. But I have a few commission slots open. I'm working on some prompts. It's fun. I enjoy it. I did have to redo my schedule a little bit. I don't know where things are going to go currently. We'll figure out what days I continue to do, but it's currently Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Uh, yeah, that's me.
Good to hear, and definitely, yet again, worth the follow.
I do
Shae.
suppose I should say
Yes.
my channel is twitch.tv/ShaeGem, ShaeGem. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Easily forgotten. I forget my own tickets half the time. So yes. Jay, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. This was fun. I always enjoy Call of Cthulhu as much as I can. So this was an exciting time to branch out a little bit into the old English. So between the accent as much as I could. But again, I'm Jay. You can find me at Neofet3 on the socials. I also am Wednesday nights on Scryer Vision. And currently with Jasper's Game Week, I am participating in there as much as possible. You can see me in some games later in the week, but I'm also GMing Star Wars on May the 4th called Shadowport Adventures, which I also do once a week or once a month on a Sundays on Big Bearded Nerd. I run a Star Wars one-shot campaign called Shadowport Adventures Mercenary Tales. We're taking a hiatus, but we'll be coming up with season 2 back up in June and looking at some other stuff there. So other than that, thank you so much again, and I look forward to seeing everyone around.
Oh, thank you for volunteering to be a victim of my machinations.
Oh yes, and I have no doubt that the that James is falling in that pool of blood and then just basically resorting to institutionalization of the phobia of blood.
It's
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Sarah's a psychologist. She'll be there every step of his recovery.
Nothing quite like the patient nurse romance. Yes. But yes, James is quite possibly swimming in the altar pool by the time that the medics arrive. Um, Finally, by no means least as ever, Drake, my friend, how you doing?
Oh my God, this was absolutely great. Like I said, I've been gone from the table for well close to a year and a half, and for this to be my my game back in. Oh Lord, you people are absolutely amazing. I love each and every one of you. I'm going to be following and stalking your adventures. I mean, oh, this was just absolutely classic and great. And I can't. I was kind of waiting to try to plant a kiss on Sarah in front of James to see what happened, but we kind of got woke up out of it. But and I'll just let James swim in the pool as I look for my real wife wherever she went. Because yeah, that's Sarah's got the sword now. I don't know that, but my word, Stefan, your mind is beautiful. It is just absolutely beautiful. I love it. So, as far as the real world, um, you can find me on my own channel, Drake Finney, and all the social medias like that because I don't believe in much variety. And right now, we're just kind of winding down as we get ready to wrap up school. And so we're playing a lot of Mortal Kombat and Injustice and Soul Calibur just to give us something other than grading essays. I'm tired of those. So I didn't know we had essays in math, but we do. I'm never teaching geometry again, ever. I hate it. So, but this was, especially after today where I had to monitor hours of tests. Thank you so much for this break out of reality and into your world. I absolutely love your mind.
Stefan,
Thank
thank you
you.
very, very much.
Thank you for running,
thank you.
Staffan.
It couldn't have been done without you folks. I have the easy job. I just get to press the start button and watch all of you just run the scenario off the rails and take it to great new grand heights. The last thing I thought I was going to find myself doing was basically officiating a wedding in the middle of a Call of Cthulhu scenario last week, but it got close.
Yeah.
I'm Staffan, RQ Staffan on the socials. I can be found most Fridays here on Friday Frights. Although we're going to take a 1 week hiatus before the start of the next threesome adventure to give a little bit of time for Jasper's game week to get out of the way. So next you'll be able to catch me on Mini Terrain Domain at 10:30 Eastern on next Friday night in a Star Wars game where, well, my mind will be playing a technician in a smuggler's bar, and we'll see how that who ends up surviving that and who shoots first. But also, just to make a couple of quick channel notes, as ever, there is the Pathfinder game here on Penny for a Tale, 8:30 every Sunday night. There is the 2 D&D 5e streams Tuesday and Thursday nights. And please catch up to those. They're all absolutely amazing. And also, of course, there is the keep an eye out on the channel socials for the Kickstarter coming along, I believe, on the 15th of May, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but I'm sure just keep your eyes open and you'll see that come along. And with that, folks, I think it's time for us to say goodnight. And remember, if you're not going insane, you're probably not trying hard enough. Good night.